Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is going to be a Boss of the SOC version 1, questions 1 to 32 from Cyber Defenders. And if you want to follow along, head over to my blog, cyberdonald.com, which I'll link down below, and you can follow along to slow things down and consume more details as you work through these questions. Let's get into it. And please show your support for the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe so I can make more videos like this in the future. Now let's get into it. All right, just starting off here, I'm not going to read through the whole description, but this is worth reading through. It's just a high-level overview of the company that's been compromised and their websites has been attacked and defaced by the Poison Ivy APT group. And I do want to point out that you can actually gather a lot of information from reviewing this page and doing some OSINT on it, looking up the APT group, looking up some of the other information that you're going to find in here, and you can start to trace things back and find some interesting info that'll actually help you. But without further ado, let's just get right into the questions and talk about the queries that I used in Splunk to solve them. So question number 1. This is a simple question to get you familiar with submitting answers. What is the name of the company that makes the software? Splunk. Okay, obviously that's self-explanatory. Question 2, web defacement. What content management system is I'm Not Really Batman likely using? Let me show you my query. My query here was simple. I'm Not Really Batman, the website name, and the source type, which is going to be HTTP, or a stream rather. And if you look at the very first result and scroll down here, you're going to see the URL Joomla, and this is a content management system. All right, let's jump over to our next question. Question 3. What is the likely IP address of someone from the Poison Ivy group scanning I'mNotReallyBatman.com for web app vulnerabilities? All right, so taking a look at my query here, you can see that, of course, I kept source type as stream HTTP. I then did a stats and with the count command and DC for just distinct counts, so unique results of, and I looked at the URI path and just changed the names. Then I wanted to look at the total bytes in and out, and then I wanted to look at the total bytes by source, IP, and destination, just to get an idea for who's sending the most data. And so you can see there I used the evaluate command to put all that together, ran the sort command, and then I put it all in a table just showing this information. And sure enough, the first IP that comes up has by far considerably more bytes in and out, and that is the culprit. Let's take a look at the next question. It's going to be question 4. What company created the web vulnerability scanner used by Poison Ivy? Let's take a look back in Splunk. So here you can see my command was, of course, we know the IP in question here. And taking that IP, I called the stats command with the count by user agents. And the reason for this is quite often vulnerability scanners will kind of reveal themselves in the user agent when they are doing web application scanning. So heaven forbid you're a security analyst or a SOC analyst, you're looking in a SIEM, you're not going to think it's an attacker doing the scanning. You might, be able to kind of put 2 and 2 together and realize this is just the internal team doing some scans. But following my stats command by user agent, I did the sort command, and then I just put it all on a table. And you can see as you look down that you actually have Acunetics down here, WVS security test. Yeah, let's take a look at the next question. Question number 5. What IP address is likely attempting a brute force password attack against I'm Not Really Batman? So for this challenge, I really just put together a table to see what IP addresses are sending a lot of post requests. And then I also checked the get requests. And in both cases, we see that we already know it's not the top IP address here. The second one here, this comes into the question later, but the third line here, if you just as soon as you look into this and you click on this, you pivot into it, you're going to quickly see that this IP address is indeed sending tons of form submissions. But this is just kind of how I drilled down into the answer from there. All right, question number 6. What was the first brute force password used? This is a tricky one. Let's take a look at my query. This query did take me a bit. As you can see, I of course called the index just for the sake of it. Of course, source type HTTP, our destination IP .70, which at this point we'll have hopefully figured out is, of course, I'm Not Really Batman. And you can see here that I have called the HTTP post because obviously this is going to be a post request. And then the URI in particular, If you just look through the data, you're going to see that this is a common URI that's targeted. And what I then had to do, which I found quite tricky, was use regular expression to actually look through form data to find any plain text or strings that were just password. At which point I sorted them, got rid of duplicates with the dedupe command, and just put it in a table. And you can see here that, there are two, and we obviously know that our culprit source IP is the first one here, and our password is right there, 1 through 8. Let's take a look at the next question now, which is question number 7. What is the name of the executables uploaded by Poison Ivy? Let's take a look. Pretty straightforward query here. Of course, we have our index. We know it's going to be a post because it's file upload. And then we just want to see the rarest file names, because chances are, if you're an attacker exploiting a file upload vulnerability, you're not uploading it 100 times. And you can see here that our very first result, 3791, appears in. This is in fact the answer. Let's take a look at the next question. Question number 8, which reads, what is the MD5 hash of the executable uploaded? All right, this one here was an interesting one. Of course, I wanted to see only results that had our executable 3791.exe in them and that had an MD5 hash. So I put that in the first line. Then from there, I started to look at all the images that processes were being called from. And obviously, we wanted to make sure we were targeting our binary, or the malicious binary rather, in the Joomla content management system. From there were several signature IDs. I pivoted and just had a look at them both. And of course, it was signature ID 1 that led me to the answer here, where you can actually find the hash right here. All right, let's take a look at the next question. All right, the next question reads, what was the correct password for admin access to the content management system running I'mReallyNotBatman.com? Okay, this was another doozy where I had to use regular expression. However, the first line, of course, things you would think, our HTTP stream, destination IP of our target server, HTTP method post, the known URI for the login page, and then the source IP of the malicious actor. And then from here, I called the regular expression field, again, looking for form data with the word password, sorted it, put it in a table. And sorry, apologies, up here, the source IP, I said not this address because I had already investigated everything from 23.22, so on, and none of them worked. However, when I pivoted over to this other malicious IP address, we got a response there in the table, Batman. All right, let's take a look at the next question. Question 10 reads, what is the name of the file that defaced the I'mNotReallyBatman.com website? Well, let's take a look. And now the way I went after this one is, of course, I called their source IP. I wanted to target the Suricata alerts because it's a lot of already packaged and finalized data. So I called their source type Suricata. I, of course, just wanted to see HTTP GET requests, and I only wanted HTTP event types, and I wanted to see all URLs. So when I pulled this data up, I found that I had to go down to bytes and look through here. And when I looked at this, the largest value here, this is actually where I found the answer. And if we open this up, we'll see the name of, I believe, our right here. Poison Ivy is coming for you, Batman.jpg. Let's take a look at the next question. Question 11. The attack used dynamic DNS to resolve the malicious IP. What is the fully qualified domain name associated with this attack? Well, if we jump right back, we can actually see it here. But let me show you the query I actually used to get this information in particular. Oh, my apologies. I was just looking at my notes and I didn't even have another query. I just literally pulled it from the previous question. All right, well, let's jump over to question 12. What IP address has Poison Ivy tied to domains that are pre-staged to attack Wayne Enterprises? So for this question, well, we know the IP address, and I instead just pulled up a table to see all the host names that were involved, or the HTTP host names, which are like the DNS names in a sense, or the web server names, the actual host. And then I just ran a dedupe command, and you can see here that this IP address has the following host names tied to it, and that's our answer. Let's take a look at question 13. Based on the data gathered from this attack and common open source intelligence sources for domain names, what is the email address most likely associated with the Poison Ivy APT group? So what happens here is I just went to whoxy, punched in poisonivy.com, You scroll down and you'll just see it right here, Lillian Rose. And there's the email. And that's in fact the answer. Obviously, this took me a lot longer and I tried all sorts of different sources till I got back here. But please feel free to look at my blog if you want to see a little more information as to how I actually arrived at this conclusion, as well as others. But for now, let's take a look at the next question. Question 14. GCPD reported that common TTPs for the Poison Ivy APT group, if initial compromise fails, is to send a spear phishing email with custom malware attached to their intended target. This malware is usually connected to Poison Ivy's initial attack infrastructure. Using research techniques, provide the hash of this malware. So if you jump over to Threat Miner, put in the IP address 23.22.63.114, and when you come down here, you'll see that this MD5 hash, as you scroll down, has a fair amount of data behind it. And if we just click into it, this will bring us, and we'll find our hash right here. Simple as that. Let's take a look at the next question. Question 15. What is the special hex code associated with the customized malware discussed in the previous question? So I'm actually not sure if this is the intended solution, but I just went over to VirusTotal with the hash, checked the community tab, and there it is. But again, I'm not sure if this is how I was supposed to find the hexadecimal or not. If you found it another way, please let me know. I would truly love to hear about it. For now, let's look at question 16. One of Poison Ivy's stage domains has some disjointed, unique whois information. Concatenate the two codes together and submit them as a single answer. This one I actually struggled with, and I had to use the hints, and I don't remember how I solved it, and I have nothing in my notes, so I'm just going to skip over it, but you can just read other people's write-ups. Jumping over to question 17, one of the passwords in the brute force attack is James Brodsky's favorite Coldplay song. So this is, of course, going to be a Splunk query. Let's take a look. Okay, so for this query, I just called the index. We know our source type is stream HTTP. We know what our destination IP is. We know it's going to be HTTP method post, and we know our URI. So from here, I just called regular expression again, looking for that password string. Then I sorted by time. Then I just searched all the passwords by using the in switch, which is really cool. Check it out. And before this, I just looked up all Coldplay songs that were like six characters, and there's only two, Yellow and Clock. So then I did a dedupe on the passwords, popped it in a table, and there you have it, our password right there. But let's take a look at number 18, which says, what was the average word length used in the password brute forcing attempt? This is a tricky one. Okay, so of course, I'm not going to get over the preamble here. The first line, it's the same as the last one. Of course, looking for passwords, but the difference here is I had to call eval on password length and then use length password. And from there, I had to use the stats command to see what the average password length was. I gave it a rename, popped it in a table, and you have it right there, 6.17, round it down, you get your answer. Let's take a look at question 19. How many seconds elapsed between the brute force password scan identified the correct password and the compromised login? This was tricky, but let's take a look. All right, so of course, the first string is the same as the others, destination IP, HTTP method, regular expression, and then, but in this case, we're searching for the password, the known password, Batman, and then we use the transaction command, which helps to do some math on the password that was done, and we run evaluate with time taken, round duration, and then we just pop it in a table. And if you didn't know, the transaction command is specific for the field's duration and event count. So if you call transaction with duration, it will actually show the difference between the timestamps for the first and last events in this transaction. And you can see here that we have our answer, 92 seconds. Let's move on to question 20. How many unique passwords were attempted in the brute force attempt? All right, for this one, I probably could have done the table a little better, but I did, of course, our usual top string, followed by regular expression for password, deduped the passwords, and then I just pumped all the passwords in a table and looked at the total events of 412. Easy peasy. Let's look at question number 21. All right, question 21 reads, what fully qualified domain name makes this Cerber ransomware attempt to direct the user to at the end of its encryption phase. Whew, this one was tough. All right, for this one here, I really had to change things up at the top here. You can see I had to change the source type to stream to a DNS stream. I only wanted query types A. We just wanted host names. We don't want IP addresses. I wanted the query not to equal. A couple things that I noticed were just showing up and acting as bloat. I deduped the query, popped it in a table, ran the search command, and as you browse down, you'll quickly see the answer here, Cerber. And we know this is the answer because it's Cerber ransomware, and we see the word Cerber there. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. Number 22, what was the most likely IP address of this workstation on this date? All right, so for this one here, I just put our host name in the search field and then just use the earliest and latest command. And if we scroll down and just have a look at all IP addresses via source IP, which I guess I could just pop into a table, we'll see our answer right here because it has the highest count. Let's jump over to question 23. Amongst the Suricata signatures that detected the Cerber malware, which one alerted the fewest number of times? This one was pretty simple. I just searched for Cerber alert and our IP address, and then when you just take a look at the Suricata signature IDs, you can see the one with the fewest counts right here. That's our answer. Let's take a look at the next question, 24. The VB script found in question 25 launches this file. What is the parent process of this initial launch? All right, so for this one here, I just took our file name, searched for command line, went down, looked at the parent process ID. Obviously, the parent image is going to be WS script, but if we were to click on this and dive into it, we would see that the answer is actually right here, the 3968 answer. And if we just have a look what that looks like, you can see right here, this is the particular event log that it's asking us to find. Keeping it short and sweet, let's move on to question 25. During the initial Cerber infection, a VB script is run. The entire script from this execution prepended by the name of the launching executable. What is the length of characters of the value of this field? Whew, this one's a doozy. And so for this one here, I searched for command line, our host, then, sorry, my cat just flopped on me, hi. Then I ran the evaluate command, just looking at the length of the command line, and I sorted by length because I wanted longer ones. I didn't want short, small one-liners. And if you take this first packet here, or this first event, and you just copy the event line, pop it in Notepad, you're gonna get your answer there of 44 and 90. So let's go ahead and take a look at question 26. The malware downloads a file that contains a Cerber ransomware crypto code. What is the name of that file? All right, my query here was using the Suricata for source type, followed by get requests, our source IP, and then I used the earliest and the latest command. I then used the stats command to look at the sum of bytes by HTTP URLs, and then I popped that all into a table and sorted it. And you can see here that this HTTP URL actually had the largest amount of bytes, and that's what made me think that's got to be the file. All right, question 27. Now that you know the name of the ransomware's encryptor file, what obfuscation technique does it likely use? I just wrote the word steganography because it's virtually in all CTFs if you participate in CTFs, and that's just what hiding data in files is known as. Okay, question 28. What is the name of the USB key inserted by Bob Smith? All right, here you'll see that I changed up the source type to win registry, friendly name, and I ran the evaluate command on USB activity if it matches a registry key path, USB, and connected, or the string's other activity. And then I ran the stats command by registry value data to pop it in a table. And you see right here, we have Miranda PRI. This one was actually incredibly difficult for me and took me ages to figure out. But I'm glad I did and I stuck with it. Question 29. Bob Smith's workstation was connected to a file server during the ransomware outbreak. What is the IP address of the file server? Unfortunately, we're going to have to skip this one. For some reason, I just have nothing in my notes. So total mistake on my part, and I apologize, but we're just going to jump right over to question 30. How many distinct PDFs did the ransomware encrypt on the remote file server? This one was tricky. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm just using my search from my notes, which let me bring over here, which you can see over on my blog, but for some reason it's just not working. But if you take a look at my blog, you'll see that this does indeed work, but just drop down to my blog to see the query in action. But the answer is 257. I just called our index, searched for PDFs by relative target name. We know our destination. I wanted to look for share names, and there were some trickies here with escape characters. And I just wanted to see stats on the relative target name and just distinct counts. All right, question 31. The server ransomware encrypts files located in Bob Smith's Windows profile. How many text files does it encrypt? All right, you can see here. So I'm just going to show you from my blog. I just ran the search command, our target host name, source type, I chose XML Windows event logs, and then our target file name here, and of course texts. Then I just ran a table on the target file name, and there's 406 results. Pretty straightforward there, but it still took me a bit. Finally, our last one is, what was the first suspicious domain visited by our host on said date? And looks like my live machine just got taken down, so I'm just going to show you on the blog here. You can see my query involved earliest and latest with the DNS stream, source IP, destination port, and then I actually called our transport type, UDP, just A queries. I popped it into a table with a timestamp. I sorted it, and boom, there is our answer right at the bottom there. Other than that, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more details or to slow things down, just go ahead and jump over to my blog and have a look. Other than that, please show your support for the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep making more.